CISO equals CYA, AI gets its PhD, and RMMs get breached again. No, not really. These stories and more on today's episode of MSP Dispatch.
This episode is presented by OIT VoIP. Enhance your client's communication abilities with our VoIP solution, featuring integrated billing, on-demand training, and live US support. Collaborate seamlessly with Microsoft Teams integration and put your entire phone system in your pocket with Mobile X. Improve your offerings and increase profitability with reliable service for 1/10 of the average MSP acquisition cost. To learn more, visit oit.co or dial 844-CALL-OIT.
Good morning and welcome to the January 23rd episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm Ray Orsini, joined again by my co-host, Mr. Jason Slagle. How you doing, Jason?
I am wonderful. Had a good weekend involving a cold plunge, and I am ready to go.
Maybe we'll include a picture of that cold plunge. Actually, that's a good call out to go to Discord because it's there in Health and Fitness. How bad was it? What was it first? What was the temperature above the water?
20.
And what was the water? Because I know you checked.
There were 6 inches of ice we had to auger through to drill the hole. So it was, I think the water's probably 33, 34. It was worse out of the water than in the water for sure because the wind chill was 9.
I love that you purposely went looking for this. Like, you had to do actual effort. Like, it wasn't just the hole was there. You had to drill the hole in solid ice.
Yeah, we used an ice auger, and I hurt from using the ice auger. And then we went and bought an ice saw to make the hole bigger so that we could do this. Sure, it was fun. I'd do it again.
You'd do it again? I will say I'll do damn near anything one time. That's my limit. One and done.
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. There's no way you did that sober. Not a chance.
No, I was sober. I wasn't sober after, but going in, I hadn't had anything.
All right. That's pretty cool. I think that tops anything I've done crazy all year. What do you say we get into the stories, find some new crazy?
Sounds great.
In my first top story, the top 3 priorities for CISOs in 2024, written by Stephen Lawton for Dark Reading. In 2024, CISOs face heightened personal and legal responsibility for data breaches mandated by the SEC, making it a top priority to respond effectively to these new rules. The outlined priorities for CISOs include defending themselves against personal liability, monitoring emerging privacy threats, and managing third-party risks. First, because CISOs are now directly responsible for the data breaches under new rules, and to protect themselves, Nicole Sundin from Axio advises maintaining detailed records, working with legal experts to define materiality, and simplifying security needs for the board. Secondly, with stricter insurance rules, organizations must follow privacy policies for coverage. Demonstrating these policies and controls becomes crucial. Lastly, CISOs are encouraged by Alastair Parr to develop a comprehensive plan for managing third-party risks, including supply chain threats. This involves highlighting benefits and collaborating across departments to navigate challenges effectively in 2024. Jason, these are, we did stories last year, and I'll have Phil find it wherever it happens to be. We did stories last year about the number of security people coming into the market and the thousands of jobs waiting for them. Yep. Just a giant market, right? You and I both know people at every stage getting into this, right? And so my question is this: if you're talking to your sons, you and I are both fathers, talking about getting into this space, MSP has a ridiculous amount of liability. And now in the security space, which is very highly paid if you get to the right companies, is it worth this risk? Is this what you're telling your sons to go into?
Well, I don't know. So I was actually thinking about this as you were reading it. My wife is a pharmacist, and she maintains an personal insurance policy against her to cover essentially any malpractice suit or anything that was levied against her based on any mistake she's made. Are we entering a world now where CISOs will personally carry essentially E&O or some sort of malpractice type liability insurance to protect them from this? Most of the CISOs I've talked with and dealt with, they are interested in doing the right thing, and it's oftentimes not them That is the problem here. So I don't know if I would work for a company now that I felt like wasn't taking what I'm telling them seriously, because if I'm personally liable for that, I am out of that.
Yeah. And that's the part that, laws like this just, I feel, fail to address. If the CISO is making 100% of the decisions,
Yeah.
awesome. I don't know a single org with a CISO with a real CISO where that's the case. It's always by committee. There's always somebody else that can say no to something, right? Even in my own org, I have override authority on anything.
If the CISO reports it to the board and the board doesn't act, does that absolve him of liability? And now it's the board's liability. That's the real question. And I think what actually needs played out. And eventually there'll be some case law and stuff around this. But I mean, right now, I think it's a very, not having read the full SEC rules there, I'm not completely up on what it would be, but I wouldn't, if it's not the case that the board then owns liability, I would not want to be a CISO at a publicly traded company.
No, it's a little crazy to me. And then you start going back to, okay, well, should anybody else be liable for their decisions too, right? Because there's not that level of oversight. Obviously, if the CFO starts laundering funds or starts exfiltrating funds to that obviously there's criminal and civil implications for that. But the CEO doesn't get sued personally if they make bad decisions in the company and the company goes awry.
I think
you know what I mean? Not generally speaking.
I think SOX addresses some of that, right? Essentially, Sarbanes-Oxley addresses some of that. So there is, I mean, it's definitely the case that CEOs are personally culpable for some actions that the company may take.
Right, but to the extent of losing your job, losing revenue, there's no lawsuit that's going to be from the SEC for making a mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, the bigger thing I have is that, in some of these org structures, the CISO may not even report directly to the board, right? It's still pretty common for the CISO to roll up to the CFO or through one of the other executives. So they may not even have, in some cases, direct board reporting responsibility. And I think you'll see that change really quick, because I would definitely be out if I wasn't reporting directly to the board and I had liability there.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And we want to know your thoughts. Let us know in Discord or in the chat below. But for right now, we got a little security education. You're going to complete our education. Bring it to me, Jason.
Yeah, and with that, AI comes to higher education as OpenAI partners with Arizona State University, brought to us by Carl Franzen from VentureBeat. Today, Arizona State University announced a partnership with OpenAI to integrate OpenAI's technology into ASU's institutional processes. The collaboration supports ASU's commitment to responsible AI learning technologies, utilizing OpenAI's technology to enhance student success, foster innovative research, and streamline organizational processes. Furthermore, ASU plans to grant full access to ChatGPT for Enterprise in February 2024, starting with an open challenge for faculty and staff to propose optimal use scenarios. The university also aims to create a personalized AI tutor using ChatGPT for various subjects, particularly STEM. In addition to this, ASU plans AI avatars as creative study buddies, showcasing the university's dedication to integrating AI across diverse domains. Wow, this is a little bit to unpack here. What do you think, Ray?
I think Bonsai Buddy is coming back to help us study, and I'm all for it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take that over Clippy.
Right? I don't know. I see you're trying to write a term paper.
I mean, I applaud the use of an open challenge. I applaud the intentionality of giving it to faculty first to see what, to come up with this, right? This is a higher education facility doing proper research. I applaud that. That makes absolute sense to me. Use it to define the policy, define the parameters, and then release it to the world. I like that. I like that. I'd like to see that repeated across other organizations, maybe MSPs.
My question there is that, again, these large language models are trained on existing data and existing research, right? Like, they don't really have the capability of producing novel new research, right? Like, they only can produce things that they already have learned. So I question their ability to be used for essentially ground up research, right? They're probably good for gathering data around domains in your research area, but they're
Right.
coming up with new things, right? Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
but I mean, I understand where you're going with that, but to some extent, you do have to manage your own world, right?
Yeah.
And when ASU has its own world with its own
Yep.
priorities, and yeah, there's lots of talk. I mean, Dave Sobel talks about this all the time, looking at the bigger construct, looking at the bigger implications,
Yep.
the impact, blah, blah, blah. That absolutely holds true, zero question. I don't fault getting it honed in for your locality, getting it honed in for your own self.
Especially
that makes sense to me.
undergrad.
And it's going to change.
Yeah,
It's absolutely going to change.
With undergrad, where you're going for bachelor's or whatever, right? You're not really doing a lot of groundbreaking, innovative research there. And for your core language skills or history or any math, even like the ability to help with things like tutoring and that are actually the use cases there are awesome, right? I can't wait for a world where that's actually a thing. I see less utility for it, I think, at the higher graduate, like the PhD level. I think that the utility of it starts to wane down a little bit as you get up to that level, at least to me.
I mean, so if bachelor's is learning, master's is deeper understanding, and PhD is creation.
Yeah.
I mean, that I'm skipping a whole lot, but those are the the uppermost tenets of each of the degrees. I could absolutely see a case where undergrad getting acquiesced to it, but they may not know what to search for. They may not know what's available. So for discovery, it makes absolute sense to me.
Yeah.
I would even argue that at the doctorate level, because at the doctorate level, you're citing some places that are not places you and I are reading on a normal basis.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
It's usually not a Google search, right?
Yeah. It would be really interesting, to train it with a bunch of academic articles, right? Like pull that stuff in, and it even if you could use it to eliminate areas of research in your space that have already been done, there's utility there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it to ingest like the U.S. tax code.
Let it do no one can understand that.
That the only way we could get there is quantum computing.
Yeah,
so
it'll just come out and say does not compute.
I love that. There's the old memes that say, let's create a federal government agency. Let's have them tell us we owe them money, but we have to guess at how much we owe them. And if we're wrong, they're going to come at us and put us in jail.
Yeah,
absolutely makes sense. That's not terrifying.
Oh, it's not terrifying. And speaking of terrifying, but not terrifying, Ray, I think you're going to tell us about another thing that is the least surprising thing all week, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely right, Jason. This time, another RMM was breached to make malicious actions. Oh, wait, no. That's what the article is probably going to read elsewhere. Bill Tulis of Bleeping Computer properly wrote, TeamViewer abused to breach networks in new ransomware attacks. In this article, ransomware actors are once again exploiting TeamViewer for network breaches, showcasing the persistence of old techniques. This widely used remote access tool serves as a gateway for unauthorized access, enabling attackers to drop and execute malicious files on remote desktops. In recent attacks, cybercriminals accessed organizational endpoints via TeamViewer, aiming to deploy encryptors from the leaked Lockbit ransomware builder. The attacks, analyzed by Huntress, reveal a common attacker through connections from the same source in both cases. The attackers attempted to deploy ransomware payloads using a DOS batch file, indicating a familiarity with old tactics. Although the attackers achieved partial success, attributing them to known ransomware gangs remains challenging for Huntress. Jason, like you said, this isn't new, right? Yeah. This isn't, I don't even think it's the first time this year. I mean,
no, definitely not.
And okay, but let's, just like we've seen those articles that say RMM's breached and caused all this chaos, which is BS.
Yeah.
In this case, yes, TeamViewer has absolutely had security concerns in the past. But is this, if you, with the limited information you have, if you had to guess, do you think this TeamViewer vulnerability or weak passwords with no secondary factor?
Yeah, or they just happen to get TeamViewer installed a la scammer, right? And then they push ransomware out that way, right? So like either they're taking over somebody's TeamViewer account or they're just installing TeamViewer. I think this is another instance of, everything old is new again, right? It's one of those things that, like, at least us, we typically alert when remote access tools, because these are not RMM tools, they're remote access tools. We alert when ones we don't use end up on machines, right? So if TeamViewer ends up on a machine we manage, we immediately get alerted because we don't use TeamViewer. It has no reasonable reason to be there.
And I think that's the bigger takeaway, right? Take away what you don't need. Yep. I did this morning. I logged into my work PC, looked at all the apps installed, and of course there was stuff I installed last year, and I just started cleaning it up. I mean, why not? If I don't need it, I don't need the updates, I don't need the security holes. Yep. Just take it off the system.
Yeah.
There's something to be said with that. The problem also is it doesn't matter if the current version is secure. There's a lot of, you can use TeamViewer, I think all the way back to 6. You can download and install it.
Yeah.
On their website.
So you have to, because of the dumb way they do licensing, where you're tied to a major version, and then it definitely forces you to end up using I know a ton of MSPs or other people that use version 10 or 11 because that's when the licensing was less silly, so they just stick with that older version, and it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt, but they don't have to pay a truckload of money for their newer version of it. But as you pointed out, there are potential security vulnerabilities in older versions of software, and that is a reason we try to keep updated.
So as somebody who's well acquainted with the security landscape, and also someone who runs an MSP, a technology firm, if the vendor had to come to you and say, I'm going to kill access to this thing you paid for, or you're going to continue to use something I'm never going to update again, which one are you more okay with?
I think they're already not updating it, honestly, right? So as long as they can provide a path that isn't crazy expensive, I think at some point or another they changed the licensing model, and that's the biggest point of contention here. Is that you used to be able to get
it was 11 to 12
license, and now it went subscription based. At some point, you just gotta kind of write off the fact that you invested in it and realize that ongoing support and maintenance costs money, and that's why you see this giant shift across the entire industry to a subscription-based model from a perpetual license model, because the perpetual license model doesn't provide the revenue to keep these things patched, especially for security. You just can't. The vendors can't afford to do it, and there's some amount of they're probably making more money. We won't discount that, but at least that way you can always run the latest version of the software, and it's less of a concern.
Yeah, personally, I really wish that the vendors would just kill access to this. I mean, I paid for it. I own TeamViewer 11, a couple licenses.
So do I.
I don't use it. It sucks. What I mean? But you know what? I also have old cars that I eventually stopped using and either sold them or junked them or whatever. Like, you just have to move on, right?
The $1,100 I paid 9 years ago, I've gotten my $1,100 worth of value out of it, right? Like, it's time to move on.
But just one more remote session. No, I'm kidding. You know what I do want to hear, though? Let's get to some notables.
Sounds great. And in my first notable, Reddit plans to launch IPO in March, brought to us by Aisha Malik from TechCrunch. Social media platform Reddit is gearing up for its initial public offering in March, as reported by Reuters. This move follows more than 3 years of contemplation about going public. The company aims to file publicly in late February and complete the IPO by March's end, with plans to sell around 10% of its shares. While Reddit's IPO plans may face potential delays, the platform, valued at $15 billion, is working with Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs to make the IPO a reality. The company, yet to turn a profit, has previously delayed IPO plans due to market uncertainties. And in my next notable, third Ivanti vulnerability exploited in the wild, brought to us by Christina Beek of Dark Reading. A critical vulnerability, CVE 2023-35082, an Ivanti Endpoint Manager Mobile, is now listed in CISA's Exploited Vulnerabilities catalog. With a 9.8 CVSS score, it serves as both an authentication and patch bypass for CVE 2023-35078, which was exploited against Norway in April of 2023. Rapid7 suggests that the potential chaining of CVE 2023-35082 with CVE 2023-35081 for web shell creation. All Ivanti Endpoint Manager versions, including Mobile Iron Core 11.7, are at risk, and federal agencies are advised to patch by early February. This disclosure follows Ivanti's reporting of 2 0 days scheduled for patch releases on January 22nd and February 19th.
In my first notable mention, VMware confirms critical vCenter flaw now exploited in attacks, written by Sergio Gatlan for Bleeping Computer. VMware has confirmed the active exploitation of critical vCenter server remote code execution vulnerabilities initially patched in October. The flaw, CVE 2023-34048, allows for remote code exploitation through low-complexity attacks, impacting confidentiality, integrity, and availability without authentication or user interaction. Recognizing its severity, VMware released security patches for various end-of-life products. Additionally, Shodan data reveals 2,000-plus exposed VMware vCenter servers, posing a potential threat to corporate networks through vSphere management. With no workarounds available, VMware recommends administrators who are unable to patch to control network access to vSphere management components. Then my second notable mention, Amazon plans to charge for Alexa in June, written by Sharon Harding for Ars Technica. Amazon reportedly plans to introduce Alexa Plus, a subscription version of Alexa, in June to boost revenue. However, internal conflicts and challenges in developing the remarkable Alexa technology may lead to delays. The generative AI version, designed to enhance user interaction, faces hurdles such as deflecting answers and delivering inaccurate responses. And Amazon is concerned about persuading users, particularly those already subscribed to other Amazon services, to pay for Alexa. Furthermore, the pressure to transform Alexa into a profitable venture has intensified following losses and layoffs. However urgent the development challenges are, the need for flawless debut raises concerns about Alexa's competitiveness in the market. In our resource of the week, new Microsoft Incident Response Guides, written by Microsoft Security. Microsoft Incident Response has released 2 concise guides that we've linked below that will help security teams investigate suspicious activities in Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Entra. These one-page guides compile critical elements used by Microsoft Incident Response to provide evidence of threat actor activity in tenants. With over 3,000 logged activities in Microsoft 365, the guides simplify data triage and analysis, focusing on key activities in Exchange Online and SharePoint. In addition, the Microsoft Entra Guides covers actions for managing, protecting identities, data, and devices. Both guides aim to enhance security analysis, offering insights into potential security incidents and administrative events. For more information, check out the post in the show notes.
There are plenty of amazing upcoming events taking place across the community, so let's see what's happening this week. Later today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, your engineer-led guide to Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud. And then beginning tomorrow through Friday, an in-person event, FETC 2024 Future of Education Technology Conference in Orlando, Florida. And on Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, building, selling, and delivering your cybersecurity offering presented by Huntress. And coming from the MSP Media Network this week, we have on Wednesday the 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Partner First, Prepping for Sale, the top 5 mistakes to avoid when selling your MSP to maximize your bank account. And on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the Tech Bar episode 68 will be back for the Ladies' Night Takeover that was postponed just a little bit. And then on Friday, the 26th at noon, Bits and Books will be back for episode 5, and they'll be touching on the book Hidden Potential by Adam Grant.
Hey, I'm Powerhouse Ray.
And I'm Super Cousin Danny.
And we're the hosts of
The Tech Bar.
Pull up a stool with us every other Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern for drinks, jokes, and games with your friends in the MSP channel. So how'd you like today's show? If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button. And if you didn't, hit it 3, 5, 7 times. You know the deal. And if you want to hear more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher. Did you know we also have a Discord where we post stories all week? You can propose your own stories and even vote on which ones we'll cover. As my friend Rich Banky says, make sure to tell a friend. Also, be sure to follow us on social media at MSP Media TV. Have any questions? Email news@mspmedia.tv for answers on the next episode, or leave us a voicemail 833-MSP Network. Jason, thanks so much for being on, dude. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we're going to be relaunching soon our show, yours and mine, Wins and Losses, with a little bit different format, of course.
Yeah, I think the 7 p.m. Tuesday, it's so hard. You and I travel so much to have a live fixed day of the week show. I will miss the live format of it and would suggest that we still occasionally do live because I love the interaction. But I think that with our recording schedule, going to a more recorded format is probably better for both of us.
100%. We didn't want to come back to it in 2024 without having something we could commit to again. So I think we're playing with the idea now of 3 pre-recorded and 1 actual live episode, or 1 on, 1 off, something like that. I don't know, something more tenable, where we can keep the engagement going. And we're always on Discord. Talk to Jason, talk to myself, and a ton of other awesome people, right?
Yep, I'm usually hanging out on Discords everywhere.
There you go. Well, Jason, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it. Those of you that missed Tony Francisco, I missed him a little bit too. He'll be back on Fridays, MSP Dispatch. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
See ya.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
Brought to us by Christina Bleak. Oh.
VMware has confirmed the active exploitation of critical server. Fuck me. Go to the top one more time.